Technology Sydney in Australia, and we were looking at sports innovation. So we were looking at different sports that are particularly important in Australian culture, in particular beach sports, things like beach safety, and how could design thinking both increase participation in these sports, but also improve performance and essentially improve the environment for sport. So last year we went to Israel and Palestine, and we worked with local craftspeople there to use design thinking to try and increase the international appeal of the products that they were making, and also to try and improve relationships between people in the two states. So we came up with a range of items that were then shown at the Perez Peace Center at the end of the trip. Okay, if we can have the next slide. So we're very pleased to be here in St. Petersburg looking at the topic of sustainability this year. So we see this as waste reduction combined with the promotion of sustainable development. And we've broken this down into 4 topics, which we're going to hear more from our local tutors about in a little bit. But the main topics are urban planning and architecture, transportation, consumption, and culture. And then lastly, I just wanted to introduce some of the people who are here at the moment, but also some who will be joining later. So it's myself, Marco Orosicchio and Peter Childs are my colleagues from Imperial College London. Marco should be joining hopefully at the end of this week, and Peter Childs will be joining next week for the project. Yun, as I mentioned, is my colleague from the Royal College of Art. And then we have some graduate tutors as well. We have Michele Tiberio, who's at the front here, and Jeff Goff as well. And then Joel is here somewhere at the front. He'll be here to document the project as well, so he might be taking photographs of you. And then lastly, I would just like to thank Vladimir for all his help with setting up this project, and of course to the director at the university for hosting us here for the next 3 weeks, and hopefully we're going to have a successful project. Thank you.
Okay, and now I would like to say some words about our thinking. What shall we do here in St. Petersburg? So this year, this project came to St. Petersburg. Okay, next. And the name of this project is Sustainability, because it is waste plus sustainability. So so we produce a new word of sustainability. Next. So the participants, there are 3 participants: Imperial College of London, Royal College of London, and St. Petersburg Politiechnical University. Next. So here you can see all tutors of our projects. So let me introduce Russian tutors. So Tatiana Diadorova, well, please, the main tutor of the project. Okay, Dmitry Mareev, well, he is the tutor on sphere of transportation, of architecture. Okay, Simon Schur, he is here, tutor for the topic of transportation. Yulia Lednova, she is here, tutor on the topic of ecology. Katerina Gavrilo, well, the tutor for all things. Okay. Andrei Zubov is also tutor for transportation. Kirill Biryukov. Kirill Biryukov is tutor for ecology, and he will make a presentation here. Nadia Dajunts, yes, she's also the tutor of ecology. Ksenia Diadorova, Here, tutor in sphere of culture, and Alexei Poleuchin, tutor in sphere of culture. Okay, next please. So it will be 4 topics and 10 groups. Urban planning and architecture, transportation, consumption and ecology, and culture. Next. So first group, urban planning and architecture. Later it will be a detailed report about the main problems of our region in this sphere. Here you can see the brief ideas, what about will be this presentation and what shall we do here. Next, transportation. Also some brief of ideas of some problems in St. Petersburg region. Next, consumption and ecology. Some photos about this problem. And the last one, culture. Well, St. Petersburg is the cultural center of Russia. That's why a lot of topics, a lot of museums, and a lot of problems will it be in our during this project. Okay. We hope that design will save the world. Good luck for everybody. Well, okay. Now, I think that it is time for presentations of each topic. So during this presentation, well, I hope that you may find interesting topics for you, for your group, and later after it we will discuss what shall we do next. But now we'll start with presentations. Okay, who want to be first? Please.
Hello everybody, my name is Dmitry Mareev. I am teacher of industrial design in this university and I am lead designer of former industrial design studio. Now I have a short presentation about architecture of St. Petersburg and some problem. I think yesterday, not more. Okay, yesterday we have an excursion and saw a lot of interesting places of St. Petersburg, and I think it was a first part of my presentation. And now we start to talk about St. Petersburg from city center and to outskirts. Okay, the first part is about yards of St. Petersburg. The first type of our yards is court yards. It is special places of St. Petersburg, and it is in districts what was built before Red October Revolution until 1970. And second part is another yards of Soviet time. It was built before Second World War in a style of constructivism and Stalinism. These yards have more spaces for people, for cars, but now it also have some problems, like car parking, no place to play for the child, and free empty spaces for nothing. I guess most of citizens of St. Petersburg live in commuter outskirts, It is around the center of St. Petersburg, and it have wide streets, a lot of space in the yards. It have all schools, children gardens, hospitals, but this territory is very bad planned, and because it's a lot of car parking on ground, and it is no place to play or take a time here, and also it's look so empty, like in this picture in the right. And it is a building of new time. In St. Petersburg we have new big districts, and it has buildings in 25, 27 and more floors, and it is the most cheapest houses for living, but it has a lot of people for 1 square meters. It's no place to park a car, and it's building without schools and others. But also in St. Petersburg we have a lot of examples when yards was renovated. One of these is a yard where I'm working. It was an old building, what was built in 1720 and renovated in 19th century, and now it's a good place for living. It has a place where we can play tennis or visit a cafe. And also St. Petersburg is northern city, and now we have some examples when the yards was covered by glass, and the yards is warm, like in this museum of communication. Another part is porches. Russian porch and of course St. Petersburg porch is something special. Before the revolution, in a time Russian Empire, when St. Petersburg was an capital of Russian Empire, there was two types of porches. The front porch for rich people and back porch. For example, take wood in the building to heat it, or another technical things. But after revolution, big apartments was renovated to communal apartments. Communal apartments is a flat where in one room lives 1 or 2 families with shared bathroom, kitchen and others. After the revolution, we start to build another buildings. One of them is buildings of Stalin architecture. It's look like buildings before the revolution, but it has elevator. In 1957, we start to build very cheap 5-floor buildings for living with private apartments, not communal. It has only it has not any elevator or attic or basement, and it has about 3 or 4 apartments at the floor. Another type is 9-story houses. It has an elevator, and often these porches are very dirty and without lighting. And another type is buildings what are more tall than 9th floor. It has shared balconies. In normal situation, people use elevator, and at the right side it is a door to black stairs for emergency use, and it is absolutely dirty in a lot of cases. Another case is dormitories. In Soviet time, dormitories was built for factories, for universities, and some of them now is just private houses with apartments, and all shared rooms for a sport, for a kitchen, now are in not very good conditions. And also dormitories and communal apartments is a very big problem of St. Petersburg. In new houses, of course, everything is good renovated, everything is clean, but it's a question, what will be after 10 or 15 years, when in one porch lives different people, and what happens in future. Another problem is entrance. Now in Russia, entrance to the porch is something like enter to the bank or secret station. We have doors made of metal without any glasses, and it can be a reason of crime because you don't see what's happened inside. And another problem is elevators. In new houses, it is good made, renovated, but in old it is a lot of advertisement. Somebody write in walls and in the tops. And also, before the revolution and in early Soviet time, we used attics and basements. But now it's forbidden, and because it's big empty spaces for nothing. Part 3, arches. Before the revolution, we have covered yards, and if you are a rich guy, you can enter to the porch from a street, but if you are poor, you should enter to the arc, cross the yard, enter in another arc, and if you're living in the third yard. And now it is a place for car parking without guarding, and also before the Soviet Union stops, people often use porches to cross from one street to another, but now it's closed because of the car. After the revolution and before Second World War, arcs changed this specification, and now it is, I think, only for decoration. In Soviet Union, arcs was made for technical things. For example, if the building is too long, it has some arcs to pass under the building by the car and by the foot. And now, in present time, arcs also used for decoration and for the crossing of the long building. And in some arcs, it is trash bins for collect the waste, and also in some buildings it is an entrances to the offices or private apartments. Part 4, garbage collection. It's not very good to see here, I guess, but it's rubbish chute. I think it's not very often to use in the Europe, but in Soviet Union it is a standard. You have a tube on every floor. You can put your rubbish here, and you don't need to go out from a porch. But because of this, it can be a reason of rats and smell and insects. Another case is dumpsters. We have different types. In right top corner, it is not covered trash bins. It can be smelled, or some animals can enter to it. The most modern variant is in the right down. It is a big bag what was put under the ground. Of course, we have some recycling programs, but it's used not very often, and I guess about 95% of rubbish in St. Petersburg is not recycling. Also, another problem is hazardous waste. All lamps with mercury accumulators and another dangerous waste is just removed to the trash fields and not recycling. Now, in St. Petersburg, it was started a program for helping for poor people. In a special box, you can put your old clothes or something else. But I guess it's not more than 3 or 5 boxes like this. Part 5, car parking. The first type of car parking is parking in a city center in country yards. And it can be two cases, yard with cars and yards with gardening. In this case, you see the first one. Second variant is parking in regular blocks. Now it is a lot of cars for in these districts. It's too hard to park car in city center in daytime and in evening in outskirts. In new districts, developers used to build car parking with 6 or 5 floors, but when somebody buy apartment here, he has not more money to buy this car parking, and he parks his car just in the yard. But when the house has about 25, 27 floors, it's too hard to park, and it's not yard, it's just a big car parking. Also, another problem is then we have a very big daytime migration. I guess about 70 or 80% of citizens works in city center. And because this, we have big traffic jams and no places to park a car. Also, another problem is infections when people park their car where he can't. And also our government use evacuation, but the rules of parking is a little bit strange, and sometimes drivers can't understand. Can he park his car in this place or not? It depends on funding of police or weather or another. Lighting. In city center, lighting is not only to make this place light, but and for decoration and making a wonderful historical atmosphere. In outskirts, we used 3 types of street lighting. The first is on a pole. The second one is on a wires. And the third one on buildings. Also, of course, we use lighting of the porches. And in city center, it's a lot of building with illuminations, but at outskirts, I guess no one buildings has not any lighting, and the districts are very dark. And another problem is economy. Sometimes we can see that the lights works in daytime and it's okay. And also we have not a special system in the porch. For example, when somebody enters, a light on. It's only on the newest buildings. And of course, if it's not lighting in the yards and in the porch, it's a reason of criminal. Part 7, gardening. I already told about yards, and it's another case. This is no car, but it is a trees and grass. Gardening of the streets. If you was in city center, you saw that it's not a lot of woods and grass in city center because it at winter time we use salt and sand to protect of snow and ice, and because this it's too hard to grow for trees. And also gardening of the parks. It's of course, it's in this case it's some problems. One of them is people who has houses in rural area. They come to these flowers, take it and put to their territory, just stole it. And part 8, it is public spaces. Of course, every citizen need to have a place to play, to train, to sit. In this case, you can see we are our city called North Venice, and because this we have some things used in, for example, in Italy. One of them is branch of granite, but you can use it only 3 months in the year because it's not very comfortable to sit on it in winter time. Oh, and also we use branches made of metal. It's also very cold. And also we have places to walk. It is parks. We have some big parks and small. And also we have not a lot of spaces to communicate. Some years ago we have a special project in New Holland. Now it's under reconstruction, and it was a wonderful place where you can sit in the grass, to talk to something, to play guitar, to listen music. Okay, that's it, and that's my contact. Thank you. Thank you for no questions.
Okay, so shall we listen for all presentations and then discussion? What is your opinion?
I think so, yeah. I think, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so then the next presentation, you, please.
Hello to everyone. We'll wait some time for presentation. Transport, yes. Okay, transportation. We are very glad to see you in our city. Our city is very beautiful and big, and as every city in the world have very much problems with transportation and other environmental things. Next one, please. Okay. Next one. Originally, Petersburg, founded by Peter the Great in 1703, was conceived as a major seaport and window to Europe. The most important of the Russian center of merchant shipping at the same time powerful shipbuilding center. Next one. The city was built on the model of European cities such as Amsterdam and Venice. In the city were dug numerous channels to weaken the force of floods regularly occur in the city, and to facilitate the delivery of people and goods around the city. In the 18th century, through the channels cruised Venetian gondola even. In the time of Peter in St. Petersburg was dug a huge number of channels of, for example, Vasilievsky Island. They called lines. But subsequently some of the channel were filled up, but the St. Petersburg left the city on the water and returns the official name, the Venice of the North. The tradition of river trams in Russia goes back almost a century. They are designed for passenger transportation in cities where there are water channel or coastal zone, as for excursion. First river trams appeared in the beginning of the last century. In St. Petersburg, before the revolution, began to appear the first roads. As intercity passengers, ships at the time were used small boats, ships. Next one. Regarding ground transportation, more than 200 years worked in the city cabs of all ranks. The last representative of this type of urban transport finally disappeared in the 1930s. In 1847, in St. Petersburg, appeared road omnibuses, public coach. Existed for this type of transport before 1940. In 1862, created the joint stock company of horse-drawn railways, which has pledged to build 3 lines for the new city transport Konka or horse cars. In 1863 opened the movement of Konkas on Nevsky Prospect. Only when the tram at the beginning of 20th century horse-drawn gradually began to give way to a more perfect and progressive form of transport. Next, please. Modern transport situation. Today, St. Petersburg is the largest transport hub in Russia, through which international cargo and passengers go by all models of transport. In the city, there are all kinds of transport infrastructure: road, railway, airport, sea and river transport, oil and gas pipelines. Next. Big port of St. Petersburg provides transportation to the greater part of international cargo in the direction of Europe-Russia. Thanks to Transport and Logistics Complex, or TLC, of St. Petersburg provided the exports of Russian enterprises and the supply of imported goods. The quality of life of the population depends on its operation. The development, next one, the development of the TLC is one of the main policy properties in the government. Next. TLC brings together external and urban transport and logistic infrastructure. Today, the road network of public transport in St. Petersburg consists of, next one, 5 subway lines. The length of operation part is 110 kilometers, 64 stations, 69 lobbies, and 7 hubs. 39 tram roads, 44 trolleybuses, 355 bus roads with boarding and disembarking passengers only at established bus stop, 330 bus roads with boarding and disembarking in any not prohibited by the rules of the road. The railway network. 80 station and stopping points of suburban passenger management with the administrative borders of St. Petersburg. Next one. The main requirement to the quality of services of urban passenger transport, in our opinion, are the following: mobility, high-speed movement, ecological safety, efficiency, security and comfort. Next. Urban passenger transport must be mobile, capable as close as possible to deliver the passenger to the destination, reducing the time for pedestrian movement, which reduces the total travel time. Movement speed of the transport should be high enough to minimize the time of travel, which is generally considered to be ineffective or lost. The most pressing is the issue of environmental safety of urban passenger transport. First of all, this applies to bus transport, because electro-transport is an environmentally friendly mode of transport. Next one. Finally, urban passenger transport should be safe and comfortable, taking into account later. Here, yes. Finally, urban passenger transport should be safe and comfortable, taking into account the needs of various categories of citizens. First of all, the disabled, the elderly and children. According to the transport strategy of the Russian Federation to 2030, the proportion of public transport equipped for the carriage of handicapped citizens will be 55%. This means that a separate category of passengers will be able to use only every second bus. Next one. The government supports and simulates the creation of intelligent transport system with the use of modern technology and the global navigation system GLONASS. Next. In the 1990s, a model of urban planning policy was delivered, suggesting its dependence on the interests of investors and developers. The result was a less efficient use of the urban area, the loss of connectivity of the street traffic environment, the elimination of reserves for the development of transport infrastructure, and as a result, damage of the urban environment. In the second half of 2000s, there has been a partial recovery of the basic principles of territorial planning. Next one. Due to the limited budgetary resources, the rate of development of the street road system do not meet the rapid increase in housing and industrial construction. Increase the length of the street road system in 2010 relative to 1985 only 69 kilometers. There is no basic system in the form of highways continuous motion. Fragmented parts of St. Petersburg due to insufficient number of bridges and viaducts. The lack of connectivity of urban roads, absence of insufficient number of doubles coming from town, highways that leads to the overload of the main streets of the peripheral planning areas. The absence of a highway system that provides diversion of transit traffic from the center of St. Petersburg. Lack of readiness for the service of public transport. Next one. The basic problems of modern traffic conditions. Low pace of infrastructure development, inefficient use of land resources, low quality passenger services, lack of devices for the disabled, and small number of bridges across the river. I think that you will find more. I stopped on the basic. Next one. Vehicles, public transportation. In St. Petersburg, currently disordered parking of vehicles worsen traffic conditions on many roads. Many streets in central districts are working day of free parking and practically excluded from the functioning of the transport system. Uncontrolled parking reduces road space, leads to congestions, limits the movement of pedestrians on sidewalks, reduces the efficiency of dedicated lanes for public passenger transport. Next. Long-term storage of a large number of cars in residential areas is carried out in the country yards of apartment building, the capacity of which does not provide parking for all residents. As a result, the cars are packed on the sidewalks and lawns. Most objects of attraction of traffic flows are not provided in sufficient places for temporary storage of vehicles, primarily major shopping and business centers. Many trucks park on street and highways, waiting for cargo or continuous parking. Next one. In 2015, the Committee on Transport Infrastructure Development plans to organize a dedicated band for urban passenger transport on Pulkovskaya Highway, from metro station Moskovskaya to the airport Pulkovo. Next. Today, bus taxis became the most convenient form of ground transportation in St. Petersburg. They have several advantages compared to public transport. First, they provide a greater variety of routes. Secondly, they go faster than a tram or bus. Next one. Buses provide transportation not only the city, but also their roads affects the suburbs of St. Petersburg. At the moment, there are more than 280 urban roads. Currently, the population of the tram is reduced, also reducing the volume of trolley movement. Next one. The basic problems of modern transport is low speed of urban transport, emergency, uncontrolled parking in the city center, and reduction number of roads electric. The metro, next one. First plans of the construction of the subway in St. Petersburg started talking back in the late 19th century. City officials who wanted to take control of these kinds of transport had a strong opposition in the projects. So St. Petersburg received the Underground Railroad only in the middle of 20th century. The construction of the metro, next one, began in 1940. But in 1941, all work was stopped by the outbreak of the Great Patriotic War. In 1945, they continued. In November 1955, Underground Road took its first passengers. Then plot the Kirov-Vyborskaya line with a length of 10 and 2 kilometers, tied 8 stations from Avto station to Ploshchad Vostania. Next one. At the beginning of 2008, the railway metro was 107 kilometers. The average depth of the stations is 50-70 meters. Tunnels descend even deeper. Great depth due to the instability of the surface soil in the delta of the Neva River, on the banks of which stays our city. The metro is not only the main and most rapid means of transport in the city, but it's also interesting for tourists. The appearance of ground pavilions metro, as well as the interior of some of the stations, are truly dazzling. Today there are special tour of the St. Petersburg subway. Next. Metro transports about 4 million passengers per day. However, there are difficulties in its operation due to the insufficient number of stations, small probability of many parts of the metro station. Some lobbies are not able to cope with the demand during peak hours, causing long queues, so people are going to be late to their jobs. Trains are not air-conditioned in the summer, so it's very hot there. Due to congestion on the lines, trains stand in the tunnel, forming a traffic jam. Despite the small number of stations, some lobbies are closed for major repairs. forcing people to use alternative ways, often less convenient. Next one. The basic problems of the metro. Not modern trains, lack of navigation in the metro, insufficient number of lobbies. Airport. Next one. Pulkovo International Airport on the Northwest Federal District of Russia, the only operating airport of St. Petersburg, located 20 kilometers from the center of the city. By the end of 2013, Pulkovo Airport is the third airport in Russia by number of passengers carried. Next one. The main objective of the branch circuit formation on the territory of St. Petersburg Transport Aviation Hub, which includes the Pulkovo Airport, Airfield Levashova, Airfield Bulishfield, objects, avionic flight, communications with aircraft and airspace control. In accordance with the industry scheme, proposed location of 23 infrastructure of air transport on the territory of the 12 districts of St. Petersburg. It's also envisaged development of the airfield on the island of Kotlin for servicing light and ultralight aircraft. The city will accommodate the 90 objects that form the urban backbone heliports. The helipad will appear on the reserved plots near the CCM on Gagarin Avenue, close to the passenger port marine facade on Vasilievsky Island, on the Ring Road interchange in Pargolovo, Shushari, Ruzhevka, at the intersection of Ring Road and the Sofia Street, Piskarovsky, Shafirovsky Avenues, Tallinn and Krasnoflotskaya highways. 7 landing sites will be equipped with next to leading urban health facilities. Next one. The basic problems of the airport. Slow development of Pulkovo lobby with high population growth of the city. Not ideal transport links to the city and suburbs. Poorly developed transport helicopter. Next. Sea and river transport. The last. The waters of St. Petersburg allows for year-round navigation. From the end of November, beginning of December, until end of March, next one, beginning of April, Nevskaya Guba in the coastal areas covered by ice. During this period, the movement of vessels is provided with the help of icebreakers. In St. Petersburg, there are several seaports. The main and oldest of these is the port of St. Petersburg. The passenger service operates ferry and cruise ships. In 1982, for the reception of vessels was opened marine station. You can see it on the second slide, on the second picture. Terminal leave regularly cruise ships and ferries Princess Maria and Princess Anastasia. Next one. In 2006, during the implementation of the project Marine Facade, started construction of a new cruise ferry complex in the upstream areas of Vasilievsky Island. Next one. The main share of water transport accounted for river transportation along the Neva River, connecting the city with Lake Ladoga and the final segment of the Volga-Baltic Way. You can see Neva River, and on the right side is Ladoga Lake. Usually the navigation on the Neva opens in middle April and closes in October-November. 7,000 ships a year pass through the river. Next one. Since the beginning of the 21st century, attempts have been made on the organization of the intricate water transport. In 2004, in St. Petersburg has launched a project River Buses. These ships went daily, scheduled with stops in beautiful places. The route was birthed in the Peter and Paul Fortress, the Griboyedov Channel, near Nevsky Prospect, the Stroganov Palace, and the Palace Pier. In 2008 has been opened the movement of metros to Kronstadt. As of 2011, they walked 5 lines, but the following year the system was found to be unprofitable. There has been a collapse. Also from the piers at Hermitage, the Medvesadnik and palaces in Peterhof, fast boats, hydrofoil, meteor and missiles, which are not included in the urban transport system. The demand for cargo transportation through the big port of St. Petersburg exceeds the port facilities for receiving and processing vessels. The lack of capacity of the port leads to the partial switching of the Russian cargo flows, primarily high-yield imported cargoes to the ports of the neighboring Baltic states and Finland. Currently, one of 3 of Russian imports in terms of value passes through the ports of Finland, transport which specializes in the transportation of valuable goods. On the one hand, the water transport system of our city is quite developed, but on the other, the increasing pace of life, the number of residents and visitors requires the expansion of this system. The main objectives for passenger transport is to increase the accessibility, ensuring reliable and stable operation of vehicles, improving the quality of services. So, the basic problems of the sea and river transport. There is no clear structure of water passenger transportation. Modern ports do not have sufficient capacity. So that's all. Thank you very much for listening and viewing.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Lidnova Julia, and today I would like to present a presentation about consumption and ecology. Also, I would like to say that our presentation will be divided into 2 presentations. I present one part of our environmental problems, and second one present my colleagues from our water canal. Well, I would like to start. Well, my presentation is entitled as Dredging New Territories and Nature. And I would like to say that nowadays St. Petersburg and Leningrad region is one of the most developing marine areas in Russian Federation. And next slide, please. Well, and here is in St. Petersburg and Leningrad regions, we have some ports which nowadays are in developing, and some ports are under construction. The biggest one port is the port of St. Petersburg, and also you can see some other ports presented on the slide, and our cargo turnover which goes through our ports. Well, next slide, please. Well, what does it mean, dredging? Dredging can be divided into 5 main components, as you can see here in this chart. And first part, it's removal of materials, it's lifting on materials from bottom side, it's transportation to new territories or to storage or facilities. After that, it's treatment, if it's necessary, and also if it's possible to use for creation of new territories, or if you'd like to remove a lot of pollutions from our sediments, and its placement or usage. And on the next slide, you can see here some types of materials which are possible to use for creation of territories, for creation dikes, mounds, for land reclamation, and something else. Next slide, please. Also, I would like to say some words about our interesting project, which was finished some years ago, or nowadays under construction. First project is Sea Facade, and now you can see the plan. And nowadays, what we can see here in our Vasilievsky Island, it's creation of new, some less than 500 hectares of reclaimed areas. It's artificial island, and nowadays we have a marine port in this. On the top of Vasilievsky Island, and also you can see this port also from your airplane and when you fly it. Well, next slide, please. Next project is Sea Terminal Bronka. This port is nowadays under construction, and I think that on Wednesday it's possible to see part of this port. Nowadays we have only second stage and about 253 hectares of reclaimed areas in a process, and also we have some deep channels, and also it goes close to our flood protection barrier. And nowadays we can see this situation, and nowadays it's under the construction. Next slide, please. And I think it's one of the most important and one of the interesting projects. It's a flood protection barrier. It was started to create about 30 years ago, and it was finished only 3 years ago. And 3 years ago it was to start to explore this flood protection, and also it's possible to see from the satellite. The total length of flood protection barrier is about 25 kilometers, and it goes there, and you can see it by your own eyes. And now you can see it on this slide, the dams. In the central slide, on the left, you can see how it was when it was under construction, and on the right side, you can see how it looks now. And our gates and they have underwater tunnels. There's length about more than 1 kilometer. Next slide, please. Well, but what kind of influence on nature it could be during this project? It's increasing of suspended material. It's covering bird communities during dumping site and recovering of underwater sites and recovering the bottom. Also, it's pollution of the environmental and other influences. And in this slide, you can see in the center, it's one of the type of dredging equipment, and on left and right side, you can see the influences of dredging works during creation of our marine facade. It's high turbidity. And as you can see here, and it's possible to see on some next slide, here is previous slide. Well, also you can see here that it was one of the main problems that sedimentation and materials goes not only sediment not only in Russian part of Eastern Gulf of Finland, but also goes up to our state border to Finland. It was also one of the important problem of transborder cooperation. Thus, it's necessary to monitor this process. And also, as you can see here, it's possible to see the island Scotland, and you can see here on the right side, it's very good to see our dam and how turbidity, how suspended material goes through buried flood protection, and how it can be transparent for all the part of Eastern Gulf of Finland. Next slide. Also, we assess how this is the process of dredging and other process can be influenced on the environment and on the biota. We divided our biota, which you can find in Eastern Gulf of Finland, on some groups. It's different types of plankton, algae, vascular plants, benthic communities, fishes, birds, whales, and seals. As you can see from the table, that the most important is the influence on algae, on fishes, and on something marine communities. Why it is necessary, and why it's so important? Benthic, for example, benthic communities, it is one of the thinnest sites for fishes and for birds. Thus, if we have not some elements of of food chain, we can lose different species, and we can lose some our, if it's possible to say, iconic species, about which I'll say some words some later. Next slide, please. Well, here is two maps of environmental sensitivity to dredging works and sedimentation during different seasons through the year. As you can see here, it's spring and the summertime, and what is necessary to say that in springtime it's more vulnerable and more sensitive during because of some factors like breeding and nesting for fish and for birds, for example. And also you can see our hot points that presented in our Eastern Gulf of Finland. And also, as you can see here, it's also a part of our St. Petersburg up to marine flood protection area, which also very nice you can see on our left slide. Well, next one. Well, and also about species. First, iconic species which presented in our Eastern Gulf of Finland, it's smelt. It's a small fish that is very important. Very important commercial fish, and also this fish was helped to people who lived in St. Petersburg during the Second World War, when it was one of the important food for all the city. And nowadays, you can see how people fish on the ice, and our smelt and our commercial smelt. And the most important thing, that's one of the breeding sites for smelt. It's situated close to Lahta Center, about which I'll say some words some later. Next slide, please. Well, about influences on the environment. It's microthids. It's like plants. What we can see here, it's some photos. Before creation of sea facade, during creation and after creation. The influences goes through some years, and it's about 5 years, and this ecosystem was died and was created some died ecosystem. And nowadays it's siltation places, and just start to grow up some new macrophytes, but it's recovery will go through some years at first point, and second point that a lot of areas will siltated during the dredging works. Thus, it was reduced or losses a lot of sites for microphytes, and also that is important that it looks like wetlands. And water and wetlands, it's also key elements for breeding and for feeding sites for fish, for example, and for birds. Next slide, please. Well, it's our marine birds. It's photos from one of our protected areas, which is situated close to northern part of the Eastern Gulf of Finland, and a lot of marine birds we can see here. And also, it's one of the monitoring species during construction. Such project like Nord Stream, it's marine pipeline that goes through Baltic Sea from Russia to Germany. Well, next slide, please. Well, next our iconic species, it's gray seal, and about this, and next one, it's ringed seals. My colleagues will say some interesting facts. And well, also about construction. Before this, you see our different species of birds, fish, mammals, and something else. And now our new projects. Nowadays it's under construction. It's Lahta Center. It's a project of our, maybe one of the first iconic symbols in Russia and in St. Petersburg. It's creation of a new building, which in plan it will be the tallest city in Europe. There's a height about 486 meters. And it will have 86 floors, and this territory, as you can see from the slide, more than 3,000 square meters. It's on the left side, on the left photo, you can see the project, how it will be, how it will looks like. Well, and now it's a territory, it's artificial territory. The first part of this territory was created in 17th, and it was a storage for sand. And now it's development and improvement. And nowadays you can see the beach, the coastal areas, what was created in 17th and 18th. It was created from concrete and reinforced concrete blocks, but it's not very suitable for recreation. But it's very nice for protecting this area from flooding and from flushing during our flooding and environmental conditions. But it was renovated, it was development, it was reclaimed, and this territory was bigger. But what also important things? It also can be pointed to this Lahti Center. Lahti Center, first of all, situated close to breeding site of smelt, about which I said some words before. Also, that is important. That is a road for migration birds, which goes to this slide goes to the protected area situated in the northern part of Eastern Gulf of Finland. Also, it's a point for migration road for birds, which goes to Yuntal ski protected areas, which also situated on the north part of the St. Petersburg, and also goes to the Arctic regions. Thus, it's also important to take in mind how birds can go through these areas, the first one, and second one, about noise. What about the level of noise could be influence on the birds? And is it possible to lose it or not, our birds? Thus, I would like to say some words about our hot points. Well, it's only some of hot points. I have some more, and I hope that you find something new and some interesting points. Well, it's influence and change of the environmental during different processes like dredging works, like reclamation works, and something else. Next one, it's inaccessible feeding and breeding sites for smelts. Smelts is just an example, because we have other types of fish which are also important for St. Petersburg, for our adjacent areas. Also, it's interception of the migration routes of birds, for example, during construction of Lahti Center and its toll. It's damage on protected areas because, as you can see on some slides, that there is a siltation of the areas. It's a lot of suspended materials and loss of transparency of the water. And all of this can have a negative influence on our protected areas, like on our Berezovsky Islands and our Ingerman land protected areas, which nowadays are under creation. And also it's pollution on the environmental during our dredging works, during other works, during resuspension of materials, which was sediments during during the long periods of our works. And it also may be interesting that the first dredging works was made by Peter the Great for protect St. Petersburg from different force. And also it's key point that a lot of interesting things and a lot of things which was made and on the bottom was made during the work of Peter the Great. Well, next slide, and I would like to say thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me.
Kirill Birykov will continue this topic.
Hello, next slide. Hello, welcome to the St. Petersburg city of water, and our city is situated in the Neva River, and it is a main source for portable water to the city. Next, please. And what is it? It's water canal. We together with Nadia presented water canal. It is a company which supplies potable water for population for 5 million city. And if you know that the Neva River is the third large river in Europe in terms of average discharge. And for this reason, people in St. Petersburg don't have problems with drinking water, and we usually don't think about what is it water consumptions and why we need to reduce our water consumptions. And in water canal, we work with children in our youth environmental center, and we get a propaganda to use the water meters, and it helps us to change people's mind to water consumptions. Next. And some figures about water canals. It's figures about scale. We are a big company. We have 9,000 people in place, and we have 9 water treatment plants, 9 wastewater treatment plants. And I told that we supply water to whole citizens in the city and for thousands city companies and organizations in all industry. Next, please. And about wastewater treatment, before 1978, St. Petersburg didn't have treatment of wastewater. All wastewater from population of city and industry buildings go to the river Neva without any cleaning. Water canal did many efforts year by year to reduce this influence, and since October in 2013 we have 98.4% of wastewater treatment in St. Petersburg. Next, please. And this is pictures. It shows what we do and which situation in whole Baltic Sea and especially in Gulf and Finland. Water canal implements large-scale activities to reduce of untreated wastewater discharges and remove all nutrients, its nitrogens and phosphorus from wastewater. And in these pictures we can see that blue H algae in Baltic Sea, this is green. And in last year we closed a hotspot about wastewater, and these pictures can show that we have some advices. And next. And now we talked about some specific projects. We work with wastewater and how we can influence to the environmental and for these habitats. And Nadia will continue.
Hello everyone, I'm Nadia and I'm responsible for social projects of State Unitary Enterprise Water Canal of St. Petersburg. And here is our most significant environmental project. It is the Rehabilitation Center for Pinnipeds in St. Petersburg. It is a joint project by Water Canal with zoologists who are involved in rescuing of marine mammals since 2007. The year 2013 was announced in Russia as the Environment Protection Year, so Water Canal decided to go for a new activity. And they started a new joint project with the zoologists. They opened a rehabilitation station for pinnipeds at one of the wastewater treatment plants. First year we managed to save 5 animals. 3 of them were Ladoga ringed seals and 2 of them were Baltic gray seals. But the whole point is that this whole activity is aimed at conservation of the rarest marine mammals of the region, the Baltic ringed seals of the Gulf of Finland. If we don't save them, we will lose them eventually because there are only about 200 individuals left in the wild. several words on the main threats for the marine mammals of our region. Well, sure, it is the development of coastal territories and heavy navigation and stuff like that, heavy marine traffic, poaching, illegal fishing, and other kinds of threats. Well, and here is what we can do about this. The Baltic Ring Seal Foundation does complete research of the subpopulation of Baltic ring seals. We work on creation of public services. We attract a lot of volunteers to help us out with the project to find the stranded seals and stuff like that. We also develop different means of conservation of marine mammals, and we implement them. Well, the most significant and the most visible part of this project is sure rehabilitation of the pups of marine mammals, of Baltic ring seals, Ladoga ring seals, and gray seals. And we have a video about that, so I'd like everyone to watch it. Unfortunately, it's in Russian, so I will comment, but it's about our previous seasons of rehabilitation, so. Return seals to Baltica. It is the wastewater treatment plant before reconstruction, so here is where we do all the rescuing works. Here they are. These are Baltic gray seals. Aren't they cute? Last year we were... These are our patients of 2013. And in 2014, we were flooded with white coats and really tiny seals. They were malnourished and they had bad psychological problems because they were weaned from their mothers prematurely. So here is how the feeding process goes on. At first, they are fed with a special mixture of fish oil and some gross things in it. I think it is necessary to mention that there are only 2 people involved in the direct rescuing process, the zoologists, and here is how the rehabilitation center is open after major reconstruction in September 2014. Well, the governor is present and stuff like that. And no seals were admitted to the newest center yet, but we're waiting on them like from day to day because it's now about the time to start the season. Well, this is the last stage of rehabilitation, where the pups are weaned from people before prior to the release. Here is what it looks like. And this video was shot by a person who found a stranded seal pup. So was this one. This is downtown St. Petersburg. It's really close to. So this is the second stage of feeding. They eat whole fish, which makes it a lot easier. These are the rarest marine mammals, the Baltic ring seals. And really cute and tiny, but it takes a lot of time to save them and to nourish them and to give them all the necessary care. Well, he takes the knee of the zoologist as his mother, so he just sucks on it and does all kinds of stuff. And this is the Baltic ring seal. She had her eyes hurt by birds. Fortunately, we avoided surgery. And this is the first seal to be released in 2014. She was named after the St. Petersburg Dam. Here how it goes. Well, that's what they say. That's something about the release and stuff. They are released in, at the Gulf of Finland. It is one of the protected areas. In the southern part, at the border with Estonia. You remember how small they were when they were white coats, and now they are about like 30 kilos heavier than they were. We admit them about, this is the largest release ever in the history of marine mammals rehabilitation in St. Petersburg. Like 10 gray seals were released. Last year we had 7 releases. This is Ladogavrin seal. And this was the release of the Baltic gray seals. We saved 5 Baltic ring seals last year, which is about 20% of all the pups that were born in the region. Here's what we had, and here is what we have now. Really tiny, about 2 or 3 days old whenever they were admitted to the center. And after the rehabilitation process was finished in July, the zoologists started their research. Here are some figures on Baltic ringed seals. Only 200 individuals left. And here is what harms the seals. This is a irresponsible attitude towards the environment, but now we're doing everything to revert those processes. Fortunately, besides Vodokanal of St. Petersburg, the authorities of St. Petersburg also supported the project, and the governor joined the public council of the Baltic Ring Seal Foundation. So now it makes it a lot easier for us to do the work. Well, this is the opening of the center after the reconstruction. And the representative of Vodokanal of St. Petersburg tells us why it is important for the company that is responsible for the environment in the Baltic region to take part in such projects, because it makes us all a bit more responsible and kind, and makes us revisit our thoughts about the environment. That's a typical wastewater plant, one of the major ones in St. Petersburg. And clean water is sure essential for all of us. It is essential for people and for the natives of the Baltic, the seals. There you go. We have 2 more slides left. Next one, please. Now we have a great need in a large awareness campaign. As I've mentioned before, the rehabilitation season is about to start, so we need to tell people why it is necessary. We need to tell people what to do whenever they encounter a stranded seal, and this year we expect many of them be separated from their mothers prematurely because it was a really warm winter with basically no ice and really poor ice conditions on the Gulf of Finland and Lake Ladoga. And next slide, please. So we need all kinds of media materials. So maybe we wanted to give you an assignment to help us out with them. And the creation of them. We need to tell people what to do in case they encounter a stranded seal pup, and how to tell a Baltic gray seal from a Baltic fringe seal and stuff like that. So here is what we need. So that's basically all. Thank you very much. Any questions? Anybody? Well, actually, unfortunately, it's not a zoo. All the seals are in really poor health conditions, so it's kind of impossible. Sorry about that. But we can shoot you more videos and stuff.
Okay, thank you very much. So, and now our last presentation. It is culture. Ksenia Diodorova.
Hello everybody, my name is Ksenia, and we are going to create this cultural blog together with my colleague Alexei. But unfortunately today he is playing DJ of the presentation, so I will be talking alone. During last 2 hours, you probably have heard a lot of times these words that the St. Petersburg is the cultural capital, a cultural center of Russia. And here is the question, because actually capital is in Moscow. And it's quite problematic question. The brand of the cultural capital is the legend, or it's a real brand, and what we can do with that and how we can develop it. And there are two sides of the questions. From the previous presentation you could know, and from the last day excursion around the city, I think Dmitry told you about that St. Petersburg was established as the first capital of the Russia, and all the royal families were living here, and there are a lot of palaces and like a hermitage and all that. So it's one part of the question, but what really do we need to develop contemporary art and to support young artists? How do you think? Hello. What we need, despite real talented people, like places, what we need to develop cultural level? Actually, we need money. I know you feel sorry to say that, but it's what we really do need. And it's clear that in Moscow, as a capital, all the budget are focused in Moscow. All the budget for cultural developing. And since Moscow is more modernized with this, with the exhibition halls and all that, most of the festivals, international ones, and the lecturers, most famous ones, actually they come to Moscow. Not like, and if you go to some kind of the web page to see announcements of the events which take place in the city, if you go to Moscow part, you will see, for example, 50 exhibitions. You can see, like, I mean, not small galleries, I mean really big and important ones. And in St. Petersburg, it will be like about 5 or 10. Sometimes it's like that. So the real thing, the real thing, is that we really have to develop the brand of the cultural center of St. Petersburg, because we have to motivate two types of investments. It's the government investment and private investment, which is, in the last one, actually is absolutely not popular in Russia and in St. Petersburg. I mean, private investment. So we have to increase the level of this emotional and mental background around St. Petersburg as a culture. Yeah, so, and I hope that you could see, so any tourist and maybe any student that comes to St. Petersburg, they always rush to Mariinsky Theater, and Russian ballet is very well known all around the world. And it's a very great thing in St. Petersburg. Actually, while we were preparing this presentation, I realized that the cultural life in St. Petersburg is not so bad that I've thought before, because I was collecting materials and I realized that things are moving. And so the new tendency is that all these historical older sites like theaters, museums, and concert hall, like Mariinsky Theater, like Hermitage and all that, they open their new departments. And these new departments can be absolutely new buildings and can be renovated old buildings. They open these new departments and they do absolutely they really do it absolutely new, starting from identity. So here you can see on the left side, it's the Alexandrinsky Theater, which is a dramatic theater. About 2 years ago, they opened New Stage, and actually even the website, they have this newstage.ru, and it exists only in Russian. Unfortunately, that's their fault, but still. And on the right side, it's the new logo of New Stage. So it's exterior and interior of Alexandrinsky Theater, the classical one, and here is the new department of the New Stage. And they make like the new identity, new architecture decision, and also they invite really a lot of modern contemporary young artists to collaborate with them. And this actually, I think that during your staying here, you have to go and visit this place because they really do very high quality stuff most of the time. It's really what we can call modern, contemporary St. Petersburg cultural place. Next one. So the same thing happens with Mariinsky Theater on the right side. You see the old building on the left side, the new building. And this is the. This building was really like built from nothing. And also Mariinsky Theater had one more modern department. It's Mariinsky Concert Hall, which is very extremely beautiful inside. Next one. The same thing happens with Hermitage. On the left side, you can see the place I think that we go together next week. But the place you also have to visit definitely. It's a new department of the Hermitage, which is situated just nearby. And it was absolutely abandoned, huge building that was totally renovated by the German architecture raмках. Maybe you know him. And it's brilliantly done. Actually, when you are inside, and it's just yesterday I've been there on the exhibition of Francis Bacon. No, the previous, sorry. And if you go there on this exhibition, you could find that it's not only that from the architecture point of view, it's so nice, but also the curator work of this new department is very high quality. So on this exhibition of Francis Bacon, I was very surprised and amazed how they organized the material of the exhibition and how they included some extra materials on this exhibition, because they included also masterpieces that influenced Francis Bacon, like Velázquez and all that, and it's really great. And maybe you also heard about the Biennale of the Contemporary Art Manifesto. That was very hard question in Russian cultural life last year, because there were a lot of artists that wanted to didn't want to come to St. Petersburg because of this Ukrainian stuff and all that, and it was really risk that manifesto never could happen. But finally, because of the main curator of this festival was the German guy, and he was working hard, and so finally it took place in this new Hermitage department. And also on the left corner with this carpet, you can see one of the exhibitions that was during this manifesto, and it was located in also abandoned but very historical part of the city, and they rebranded it with the presence of this manifesto there. Next one, please. Yeah. So, and about abandoned. So I think you all know that there are such a great thing like lofts, and in St. Petersburg we also have a lot of them, when different factories and all that which were destroyed and abandoned, they just have some kind of renovation and redecorating, and then different creative groups and clusters, they occupy this place, and so on. So in St. Petersburg we have actually we have a lot of them, but most of them are quite small, and they are always changing, some closed, some open, and the main problem is that it's the same, actually, it's investments, because some of them they just convert to business centers, quite stylish, modern and all that, but there are no like open spaces for artists and creative communities, because nobody can sponsor the rent. And I just recently read one article of one of the owners of one of these creative spaces, and he told that in St. Petersburg there is a tendency that businessmen they hire people who try to develop the place as a creative cluster. So they spend about 2 years, 3 years functioning as a creative cluster, but then they just make it as a absolutely ordinary business center. So it's the way to motivate investors, give money, and make some kind of the cloud of the interest around this place. Because artists make the exhibitions and all that. Next one. On this slide, you can see one of the most famous and fantastic places in the city. It's in the center, and it's the X Factory, which is now like here, like on the pictures, and it looks like here. Maybe we can go there if you don't find it dangerous. So it calls a red triangle, and now very slowly some of the parts of these buildings, it's a huge territory, they start to give some rooms for rent, some offices, but it goes very slowly, and it still keeps being very dark place. Yeah. Coming back to the question of developing the brand of the cultural place, I think that it's also very important to make this strong connection between just ordinary people, just big authority, and artists. I mean, people who are not involved in the creative creative business, they are not artists and they are like just managers in the office. Yeah, to make this connection between them and artists and try to explain them art is cool. Let's go to the exhibitions, let's go to buy some artistic books and let's invest in art, let's buy paintings and all that. So, and one of the way actually it's to put art in public spaces. Here and on the next slide, you can see there is a Russian photographer who actually based in Paris, and he's the only one Russian photographer in Magnum, and his name is Pinhasov, and there was a project in Paris Metro. He was shooting about half a year in the Paris without shooting people's faces, but after that, on different metro stations of Paris, his shootings were presented very huge, and so most of the metro stations in Paris were decorated with his pictures, and it was really super great project, and I think it would be great if in St. Petersburg we have something like that. Next one, please. And actually we start to have something like that. Maybe you could see in the airport when you arrived and you were taking your baggage, you could see on the right picture. And it calls the alphabet of the city, and it's made by really very famous and one of the greatest nowadays artists of St. Petersburg. He makes these alphabets about different cities. He made it about Tbilisi in Georgia, about Tel Aviv in Israel, and about St. Petersburg. But originally he was born here, so he's very St. Petersburg guy. And all his family, they are also artists, and they live here. And so they put the exhibition of this alphabet of St. Petersburg in the airport, and it's really, since they have had done it, each time I come to St. Petersburg and get my luggage, I feel home because I know him personally, and it's really nice connection. Alexander Florensky, but I don't think you will remember it as far as like my name as well. There are also, actually there is such a thing as an art market, which is very low developed in St. Petersburg. I mean the market of galleries, which really function as galleries, because there are a lot of small places where artists can perform and present their works, but nobody is buying them, and there are no managers and curators who deal with that. So there are some initiative groups that try to make some kind of the auctions where people can buy art for quite affordable prices, but still works very bad. One more channel we can influence the question of this connection between just normal people. It's just to try to educate this value of the visual culture from very childhood. And also I think it's quite important to, you can put next slide, to kid books. Because in Soviet times, books for children were really very great and always sketched and drawn by most famous artists. But so on the top of the slide you can see, and actually I can give you then the names of the artists that were working in the Soviet times, and you can see their amazing illustration. And now it's more like that, like on the on the bottom of the slide. So really like very Disney influenced and losing the authenticity of actually Russian cultural tradition of illustration. And at the end of my speech, we decided with Alex to include some kind of impressions of expats who live for years and years in St. Petersburg from different countries, to underline some main points of their impressions we translate it in English, maybe it's a little bit, but I will try to comment. And maybe it's not that much clear, but we didn't change anything. We just put it like it was. So it's city where people every day commemorate something, famous people, wars, historical events. So actually it's true. When you're going in the bus, on the metro, people, like this woman who is announcing, she's always telling, today we are celebrating a day of the poet or a day of finishing the war. So it's really very like famous thing to commemorate something. I have a lack of the community feeling here. In Spain, people who are staying on a bus station or in a queue, they form community. You are waiting, I'm waiting, it's enough to be a community and start the conversation. Here, really, in Russia, people can make a 2,000 queue and nobody will talk to each other if you don't know each other. Second one, that's what Dmitry was telling about to you. Courtyard Fontaine is an amazing phenomenon. It's a place where private and public get mixed. And that actually it would be great if we could rise up the consciousness of feeling the place more private than public. I mean, the place can be nobody's territory, but it would be great if Russian people, and especially in St. Petersburg, can feel it's mine. You understand what I mean, yeah? Russian people respect their past a lot. Here, the quantity of memorial apartments of famous people is enormous. Yeah, we have a lot of these boards on the houses and apartments of somebody, of poets, writers, dancers, and all that. And sometimes they look a little bit strange. Sometimes they are like very luxury, but a lot of them in the center, almost in each house. I don't know how will be the attitude to these words, but in the museums of St. Petersburg, it's the guy from Great Britain. In the museums of St. Petersburg, there are so many people. In Great Britain, mainly tourists visit museums, but here a lot of citizens are involved in cultural life. Actually, I don't find it like very true, but just quote. And it's again about the silence in public places. Next. Here, swear words is not bad. It's just a separate language, and actually, it's really part of the culture of the language. And maybe you know the story about the Russian film who was nominated to Oscar. No, you never heard about it. So in Russia, it was for 4 months. It was stopped to start screening. It was prohibited to start screening it because there were swear words in it. Because in Russia, we have the new law to prohibit swearing in public art, and it was a huge scandal. So it started. It had already received some prizes in European festivals, but in Russia it wasn't started to be screened. So it was quite fun, and it's the shot from this movie. There are little signs and pointers here. If you need to know where is the bus station or if it's possible to smoke inside the bar, you have to ask. And this is why did I place this picture? Is because when you put in Google navigation in St. Petersburg, you will have the pictures only about ships and rivers and boats, but never about the signs or something. Next one. Here people can live without any comfort in a tiny room, but anyway, half of it would be occupied with books. Yeah, in Russia, even drivers of the buses and all people, they read books. It's famous fact. And the last one. The Brazilian can go to the opera, but Russians don't just go to see performance. They have to make an analysis after having seen it and discuss for hours. Yeah, next one, please. Have nice and deep analysis. And very last thing that I also read in this material, it's words of one German woman who told that she was living in St. Petersburg for 12 years. and she said that one of the most thing she learned here is that if here is something is prohibited, but you want, it means that it's allowed. So sometimes it's hard, but sometimes it gives really a lot of freedom, and I wish you during this project to use this freedom as much as you can, because it's very important. Good luck.
Okay, guys, so I'd just like to say thank you to the tutors for presenting on the 4 topics. I thought there was a huge amount of information there, quite a lot to take in, but also highlighted the number of challenges there are, I think, in all these topics. You know, there's a lot of things going on in the city, and some of these challenges are going to be better suited to system solutions, some will be better for kind of infrastructure solutions, or maybe public interventions, and some will perhaps be products as well. And it's going to be up to you to sort of pick the focus of your project and which of these routes that you want to go down. And just the other thing to highlight is actually these aren't isolated topics either. Hopefully you notice that there is enormous crossover between these topics as well, and say, you know, architecture and the urban planning meets with transport with around issues of sort of car parking and connectivity of the city, or architecture and culture around sort of reuse of these spaces such as the factories for creative uses and things as well. So make sure when you're doing your research you share it with the other groups as well, because it's likely that it's going to be highly relevant to other people as well. So yeah, I think that's probably all I wanted to say for now.